Okay, as you've all been really lazy and not come up with a question, I did this week.
Wow, well done.
Sorry, who are we?
We just start a question, don't we, Joe? You've ruined it now.
Boo, Joe, boo.
So my question to you guys is, what do you consider as complete, as in percentage? Because games are changing so much. Main story can be 40% of the game.
That's an interesting question. Now, it really does depend on the game, because
I agree.
Games give you different percentages, which is annoying. I would like it if there was 2 percentages and you had a story percent complete.
Yeah.
I remember once I was playing, it was Alien vs. Predator on 360.
Oh, yeah.
And that had 3 campaigns. And I remember starting a campaign and being like 20% through and thinking, oh, this game's quite long because I'm only 20% through the first campaign. And then turned out it was 33%, 33%, and 33%. And it just ended. And that it didn't really present the information very well.
Yeah.
And then other games, as you say, it might include side quests. So 60% is actually the end of the game. And then you've got 40% side quests. And that's annoying. So I like it when it's split differently.
I tend to think, well, we know that you're a completionist, Jake. We know that you have to try and hit the platinums as much as you possibly can because you only ever brag about it.
It depends on the game. It really does.
Yeah. But if you had a completionist percentage, then that would work. So you had story percent and completionist. I can't actually remember exactly how it works, but on Cyberpunk there's 3 percentages, isn't there, Joe?
On the pause menu?
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with this. That's like the portions of the story.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, though. But it's kind of
progression. You've got the progression with Johnny, and then you got the progression with the relic.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's kind of splitting up the story percentage. Like, how far are you along each part? Which is quite nice to see because you know that, I'm near the end of that part of the story. I can do this part of the story maybe to get that percentage up.
No, it doesn't work that way either.
Does it not?
No, it's not like there's 3 story arcs that you're going through.
Yeah,
they all go up kind of around the same.
I was just going to say, do they only go up with main missions anyway?
I've never really paid much attention to it.
Anything that's got interaction with Johnny or like where you fall down when the relic affects you, they like spike that a little bit.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I've never really paid much attention. I just noticed the percentages.
I would just count finishing the main story as completing the game.
Yeah, that's what I would as well.
And that's coming from someone who does like to occasionally.
Occasionally.
But it is nice to have a completionist percentage.
Yeah, like I didn't platinum Final Fantasy last year because that'd be a mammoth task, and I've already put 92 hours in.
That's definitely the kind of point, isn't it? I mean, I don't have time for 974 cardboard boxes.
Yeah, and in Sea of Stars last year with the rainbow conches as well.
Yeah,
many times where I've gone, I've really enjoyed this game. Maybe I'll get the 100%, and then go, nah. I mean, I don't have
there's
time
some
for that.
ridiculous things like an hour and a half completion, that kind of crapping stuff that really annoys me. Speedrun it, S ranking, only using a Bowie knife, pulling the right face.
But I like them. I like them for achievements because they're achievements.
Yeah,
rather than just finishing the chapter. Oh, achievement.
Yeah, and I'm very torn with that. I like both ways of doing it. I quite like an easy platinum, but then I also quite like
to work for it. Yeah,
I don't like multiplayer achievements, but I think that's a conversation.
You can't do them when the game's died.
But
yeah, definitely.
What about you, Ben? What's your percentage preference?
I tend to go around the sort of 75% marker.
So once you've done 75%, you feel
somewhere
like
around that. I'll have done the storyline.
Yeah,
and then of the achievements, I'll leave the extreme stuff really because I just don't have time for the extreme stuff.
And for the most part, games that's how I would play them. Unless they're an easy platinum and I'm still having fun, then I'd probably do the same. I tend to not New Game Plus, so I usually miss achievements or things that come about from New Game Plus. So
it definitely depends on the game because sometimes a New Game Plus to me is like, oh, that would be really good because now I've got infinite minigun, or there's a good perk for it, so I want to have a play around with it.
Yeah, Elden Ring especially for that.
I think Dead Island did it to me. They give me the super sledgehammer, and I just needed to go and find out what it did.
Yeah, I do get it. I always like to keep New Game Plus for the next time I'm going to play a game and then never get around to playing it.
I don't like it when a trophy or achievement's tied to New Game Plus. I think Miles Morales did that. If you wanted the platinum, you had to finish New Game Plus. But
at least it was a short game.
Yeah, but 6 hours.
True.
You're like, you finish the game and you've got every
one achievement
trophy, but one. And you're like, do I have to do this again?
That's the reason I never technically 100%ed or platinumed Elden Ring, because I think I got every achievement other than the 2 where you have to get the different endings.
Yes,
and there is obviously a cheat, which I believe is what you did.
Indeed,
make
your
saves at the end, but it relies on cloud saves.
Yeah, you have to do cloud saves,
and I can't because I share your PlayStation Plus. I can't do cloud saves.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get that one, and I didn't really want a New Game Plus it.
Yeah,
and complete it again twice just to get those achievements. So in my head, I've 100%ed it because I've done all the actually difficult stuff. I've just not done the time.
The way that lives in a different place. So in my head, I've done it.
Yeah,
it's like how Joe's technically 100% in Cyberpunk in his head, but not.
Yeah, because I got locked out of an achievement. God damn it!
You shouldn't have brought that back up.
You're sorry, Joe.
Anyway, so hello and welcome to Gaming Garnish, where we play crap and talk crap. Hope that doesn't catch on as a thing.
I thought it was going to be we play crap and talk.
Also
all true.
I didn't know where the comma was.
So usual squad with me. I've got Jake.
Hello.
Brad.
Hello.
And Joe.
Hello.
And I'm your host, I'm Ben. So let's get straight into what we're playing. Joe, what are you playing?
So, I have a gripe to bring up about a game that I have been playing.
Ooh.
So, I've been mentioning Fire Emblem Engage the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible to grind your characters from low level to high level.
Oh, no. So like, are you saying, like, if you get to a certain part through the game...
and you've like left some characters that you've not used from the beginning, it becomes detrimental to try and use them.
Really?
Yeah. In previous games, you do something called skirmishes or training grounds to like level up those characters. These all scale to your highest level character. So, which is usually the main character because they get attacked the most because, they're the OC. But there's a few that have got like interesting abilities that I didn't know about and I found out about later. I'm like, well, if I use them, I've got to start the game all over again because I can't go and level them up because you can't level up via osmosis like you could with Fire Emblem Three Houses.
There's no like XP share.
No, which is what you used to be able to do basically. In Fire Emblem Three Houses, you could have like an adjutant unit, so they didn't attack, but they shared XP with the attacker.
Okay.
But now it's just like you have to get them involved and they just die straight away because everyone's got the highest tier weapon.
Yeah. What is there any like side quests or anything like that?
They are the side quest.
Oh wow.
The only other way to level them up is if you go back to your hub and you do like training in there, but you can only do it 3 times per mission. And that's not enough to level them up to the highest level.
Do you think this is just a way of like trying to get you to replay it?
Probably, yeah. And like to get you through the main story, the story missions are leveled to the average of what your party is. So it could be possible to do it like that, but by the time you got to the end of the story, your lowest level character would be like mid-tier rather than high.
Yeah, but then I bet that's annoying because if you've got, as you say, some low-level characters and then you've got some high-level characters, your average is going to be somewhere in the middle. So does that make them quite easy?
Well, it makes the units that you're used to fighting with really OP and taking things out in one hit. Yeah. But your other units still get one shot.
It just seems like a bit of a weird balance, that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Maybe not fully thought out.
Just trying to think about how XCOM does it to bring XCOM up again.
Oh.
It's a very similar game.
It is. And to be fair, when I think about it, if you like got new rookies at the end game of XCOM, or even past the midpoint, you would struggle to level them up too.
Are they like level 1 when you hire them?
Yes, but there is ways of getting higher ranked soldiers by doing certain missions and stuff. But if you lost some soldiers and wanted to recruit new rookies, it almost feels like starting again.
Yeah,
they don't have a specialist, and then you would have to pit them against harder enemies. So, but you do have better equipment to give them, so that helps as well. So it's a bit more balanced, I think, in that aspect. Like you could give them scopes on the weapons and stuff, so they're better hit.
So they can hit from further away as well, so they're out of danger.
What about like a rare candy like item?
No, there's nothing like that.
No,
there is stuff like that you can use for buffing like stats.
Yeah.
Because you can only buff stats by leveling up, but they're few and far between those items, and you have to kill enemies to get them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have minded, but in the early game, you don't notice it happening because everyone's a low level.
Yeah.
But as your party expands, you get like 14 to pick from, but there's like 30 characters that I've encountered so far. So you can pick less than half of them, and every story mission can introduce another one, which is lower level than your main cast.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of characters as well.
It is.
There's way less than there was in Three Houses because they had like 30 per house. I think.
Wow.
But at least there's a lot of choice there, but then that must still be pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially if you get to...
There is a lot of skill overlap, but they have their own, like some characters have their own classes they can specialize into.
Okay.
It's not one of the default classes. Like there's one of them I've got in party called Alchrist, who he starts off as an archer sniper, but then he becomes basically like an elite sniper, but only he can do it. No other bow characters can do it because he's a lord. So anyone that's like royalty in the game, they get their own class, as well as your main character.
Have you found it's like sort of soured your enjoyment, or is it just like a minor speed bump, but you still very much?
No, I'll still carry on and finish the game. It's just like, there's characters that I would have really liked to use that are left at the roadside because they weren't relevant early game.
And then can you new game plus?
No, you can't. You just got to start again.
So if you start again, you won't even have those characters then, surely?
No.
So you get so far through the story to unlock them anyway.
So that's
so it's either you leave the characters that you did have and use the ones that have the overlap, which are a higher level when they get to your party, but they're not your main character's level.
Yeah.
Or you carry on from the ones at the beginning and keep.
Yeah, because then your main missions will take an average of your now lower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose there's ways, but it's not. It doesn't sound fun because you're kind of like handicapping yourself.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
There's
this one character, well, in every Fire Emblem, there's a villager type character who's got no class. They start at a really low level. And I was like, I can use the skirmishes to level him up. But what I've had to do is just put him as a healer because that's where you get the most XP by healing your teammates. Because you can just make a surrounding bubble around that character and he can heal them to level them up. But now all his stats are based on healing. And he doesn't have, because he's not attacked anyone really. And he can do a little bit of magic. But the class I've put him in, it's just, he's the best healer in the game now.
But I suppose at least he's got a use.
Yeah.
But he still can't take a hit to save his life. So you still have to.
I did nearly make a no class joke.
Well, yeah. But yeah, the other game I've been playing, which is very recent actually, it was just last night and this morning, is the Monster Hunter beta for Wilds.
Nice.
Which they've plopped in the starring monster of the game called Arkveld. Really hard fight. He fights like Simon Belmont. He's got chain arms, which are filled with lightning. There's 2 per arm. They do a lot of damage. You can form them together to make some sort of lightning cannon. I got obliterated on the first try.
I didn't even realize, obviously I knew the beta was coming out, but I didn't know it'd come out. I was just scrolling through, I think, Blue Sky one day and I saw someone saying they were playing it. I feel like did they announce that it was coming out? The day?
Yeah,
I knew it was coming out.
Those who knew it was coming.
But I saw the announcement saying they were going to do a second beta, but I didn't see a date.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said it was the 7th of Feb it started.
I think if you were in the if you were a Monster Hunter fan and you were in it, you were going to see it.
But I saw the previous. I saw the previous beta date.
Yeah.
But when I looked into it, when I found out it was out, I downloaded it. I've not played it yet. But I've downloaded it. It's also out next weekend. So by the time this episode goes live, it will still be out.
Yes.
Beta, but only just. So if you listen to this on the day this comes out,
go home and play it now.
I think you've got a day to play it. Yeah.
That's how you find it.
You don't need to be at work.
Yeah.
Other than the big monster that one-hit KO'd you, basically.
Yeah, with its railgun cannon.
Have you found it?
Well, because there's private lobbies this time, it's a lot easier to join your friends. You just put in an ID code and you can start quests together, which is what I was doing this morning. And I want to say it feels smoother, but it's probably just because I've not played it since the last time.
Yeah. I have heard there's a few bugs, quite a few bugs.
There's a lot on PC.
Is it on PC?
Yeah. I didn't encounter any today. There was a few like frame drops when the big attacks were happening, but
it's a beta.
Particle effects. Yeah. It's still the same build from last time. It's not been updated at all.
Fine. So all these updates will probably be in place for when the main game comes out.
I mean, I was getting 60 frames for a lot of it. It was only when the like the big lightning attacks were happening, or when lightning lands right next to you, you can kind of tell it's going to happen because the frames drop slightly. And it's like, oh, well, I better dodge now because the lightning will hit me otherwise.
So, based on what you've played so far, how many hours do you think you're going to put into the main game?
Well, just in the beta, it's counting the hours already because I think all your progress can track into the main game. Yeah. I've already done 6 hours in it.
Wow.
In one day.
well, in a 24-hour period, yeah. 6 hours. That's a quarter of the weekend.
At least you can take over your stuff to the main game.
Yeah.
I don't think you carry everything over, do you, Joe?
You carry over what your character looks like, what your palico looks like.
Yeah.
And you get the same amount of items that you got from the start of the beta. And you get a weapon charm to put on.
Yeah, but you don't get like your weapon and armor that you unlock.
Well, you get the starting gear, which...
Yeah, but if you unlock anything in the beta, I mean, you don't get that.
Oh, they've locked you out of blacksmithing in the beta. You can't create any weapons or anything like that.
Fair enough.
I was going to say, I've heard that it throws you in at the deep end, but I imagine people who were wanting to play the beta have played Monster Hunter before.
Yeah.
So
you can't do all
it's not really a deep end.
Yeah.
I feel like where you are in the beta is like the opening to the story, so you'll carry on to the next place or the next town to get all the stuff that you have in a standard hub.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, great time. Play the beta if you can, Brad.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Forget time.
Well, with that handover, Brad,
me,
what have you been
playing? Not that much, actually, to be honest. So I'm probably going to keep this quite short.
Lies.
I'm going to sound like Jake here, but I'm still playing Final Fantasy. Just Final Fantasy 16. One thing I want to talk about on that, this proper tickled me. It's the most short anecdote you'll ever hear from me. But I finally played it with headphones the other day. I usually play at my TV. And Clive, the main character, is like a leather-clad soldier. He's got loads of leather on him. And when you've got headphones on, you can just keep hearing it squeaking when he's running around.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Brilliant.
It just really tickled me running around like the main like hub area. It's like squeak, 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 squeak. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about Fantasy.
It's great attention to detail from the Foley artist.
It is, to be fair. Yeah, so I'm still enjoying it, just getting through the story. Before we started recording it, I just beat basically not the final boss, but the final boss that you get powers from, I believe anyway. I've completed the ability wheel yet, but as soon as you beat this character, you get a big cutscene. Halfway through the cutscene, you have to pause to come and record. So hopefully that saves progress. So I don't know what my new powers are, but they look cool if they're anything like what the boss had.
Okay, very cool.
So that's Final Fantasy. And then other than that, I've been playing more Cyberpunk with Lucy. Been really enjoying that.
Good stuff.
And then on Joe's suggestion, I started Phantom Liberty as soon as I was able to.
Nice.
And
cool.
It's really good.
Nice one.
So far, I'd probably say that the intro to Phantom Liberty is probably better than the main game. It's very intense, very action-packed.
You feel like you can't stop to breathe, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. And there's things that happen, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't expect that to happen. Obviously, no spoilers. But really enjoying that. Loads of loot straight away. Loads of outfits and stuff. I've just been finding random bits. I've let Lucy pick our outfit. So every time I find something new, I'm like, do you like this? She hates everything in the game. She hates any outfit that I show her. So we're basically not quite standard V, but we've got standard V with an extra jacket.
Is it's transmog now, isn't it? Because I remember the base game originally, I was just running around with like the weirdest gear. It must have looked like a maniac on the streets.
I wouldn't necessarily describe it as transmog because the gear didn't give you any stats at all. So it's not like you put gear on for stats and then you transmog it into something else. It's just purely cosmetic. The gear
well, that's not quite true.
Is it not?
Sunglasses and helmets and body armor can give you different stats.
Well, I've not seen any that come up saying
anything that's like Netrunner goggles gives you like hack speed plus 5%.
Oh, I've not. I mustn't have
helmets
anything.
Give you armor.
I've not seen anything that says like plus X armor or anything like that. Fine.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then like bulletproof vests and stuff do give you a bit more armor,
which would make sense to be fair.
Yeah,
nothing else has stats.
I prefer that system to how it was originally.
Yeah,
because it made no sense before. It was like this T-shirt gives you more
riz,
more resistance to
resistance
to bullets than this like leather jacket with iron parts on it. You're like, why?
It was very strange, but obviously they've changed it now, so it's really cool. I'm just at the bit in Phantom Liberty where I've met Idris Elba. Obviously that's not a spoiler because everyone knows he's in it.
Yeah.
So I've only just met him as a character and sort of agreed to work with him, and that's where I'm at. But really liking Dogtown so far. It's really small, way smaller than I expected it to be. You might remember, Joe, Dogtown itself, was it always on the map? You just couldn't go to it?
It used to be a big hollow section of the map you could glitch into, but it was all like blocked off and chained off.
I could not remember.
Okay.
So
it was always in Pacifica, but you just couldn't get into it.
So now it obviously adds to the map, and it's really seamless. I thought it was going to be like a loading screen to get through, and maybe it is because the transition with like you
get scanned, don't you?
You get scanned, yeah. So you drive your vehicle in, and you get scanned. The doors close, you get scanned, and you go in.
Okay.
So
I like it when they hide load screens like that.
Yeah, so that it's probably a load screen, but I'm definitely noticing like the graphics look better in Dogtown somehow, even though it's part of the main game in a way.
Well, they've had more time to work on the assets, haven't they? So
yeah, it
probably high quality assets in there.
Yeah, and it's just a really cool, like well realized area. Really enjoying it so far. I don't know how long the campaign is. I don't know how many side quests there are. I don't know. I've never played it. I don't really know much about it, so I'm
I will say
forward to it.
The side quests in Dogtown are all worth it. They're all like quite a story within themselves.
Yeah, so I'll get to them. I'll get through them all, and then once I'll probably do Phantom Liberty and then go back to the main game rather than doing a bit of both.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm looking forward to finally getting to it eventually.
I'm really enjoying this playthrough because it works. Yeah. I have had it crash a few times still though.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, so I had a full hard crash twice, I think now. No, once. Hard crash once, and then another time where it just got stuck on the loading screen and I had to back out, close it, and get back in. So there are still problems.
You didn't miss the press B to continue, did you?
I clicked the B to continue, or it circled me. It loaded.
I've definitely done that before.
And then the loading bar disappeared, and it was just stuck on like a screen, and then nothing happened. So I've had a few minor issues, but when you click on save, I'm sure I'm like 15 to 20 hours at the moment, and that's it. Whereas when I first started the game, it was 1 hour at minimum.
Yeah.
So it's definitely better than it was. And I had a really cool car chase, and there's like shooting through the car. You can shoot and drive now. Yeah. And at first, when you get the ability to do that, it's really difficult. But now I'm getting the hang of it. It worked well.
Oh, good.
And I had a ace drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really enjoying it. That's me.
Happy days. Jake, what have you been playing?
A couple of games, to be fair, but I'm only going to talk about one, so I can save one for next time. So, me and my wife, Dulcie, we decided to play What Remains of Edith Finch. And for once, I didn't actually play. Usually, either she's watching me or we're playing a game together. I let her play the game because she was very excited to play it.
So it's not what you've been playing?
It isn't. I just watched her play it.
Nice.
But it's good. It's a very uniquely told, but rather sad and depressing story about loss, to be fair.
That's what I've heard, and I really want to get to it.
Yeah.
Just squeezing in.
It's only about, I think it said 3 hours when we finished it, but that seems about right, because we were talking about 100% in at the start, and I went back and platinumed it, of course.
Oh, of course you did.
Wow.
We were only missing a couple of trophies. I was like, well, I might as well.
Can't help yourself.
But it's essentially, the story is like a culmination of short stories about the misfortunes of or even a curse of a single family that lived in this house.
Is it your family, or do you go to the house?
It's your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're part of the family. And it's very unique. You're going in and you're like writing a diary almost. So words are coming up as you're walking through, and the character's speaking as you're walking through. That's how it tells its story.
Like the Stanley Parable.
Kind of. but not as obviously not as Fourth Wall.
Yeah.
Each story does its own little thing as well. So like even changing up art styles and changing mechanics. I think like if it was a film, obviously it wouldn't be able to do this, but it's able to add like video gamey elements to these like little stories.
Well, you say mechanics there. I was under the impression it was basically a walking simulator.
It is.
Okay.
It is. But I suppose some examples are one of them. You're reading this comic book and you get put into the comic book as the character.
Yeah.
So like the whole art style changes, and then you're going through the panels, and you actually get like it kind of sets it up like it's a spooky like horror game, because you're holding like what you're holding like a crutch as a weapon, and you can hit things with it. Okay. So you can like you go through this like little level.
So the Riz combat.
No. I thought there was going to be, but there is not. You hit one guy in the face.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Can you use the stick on other items, like to break them?
You can. One of the trophies is knock all the... there's a pool table and you have to knock all the balls off the table.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I had to go back and do that, obviously.
Necessary. See, these are good trophies.
Yeah. And then there's one where it's like that. Again, it's not really like combat-y, but you open like this envelope with pictures in, and it kind of tells a story, and then it starts telling the story of the character taking pictures of this event.
Yeah.
And you're taking the pictures.
Okay.
And then the picture saves, and then you move on to the next picture and then take a picture.
So it's just like little interactive elements.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And each one's different in its own way. All end in sadness.
Of course.
Basically. But like with it being a walking simulator, essentially these mix-ups keep you engaged.
Yes.
As you're going through it. Even for somebody who wasn't playing it, watching it rather than playing it. It's not even really puzzles though, to be honest. It is kind of like just you're going through this narrative. There's no like, I think there was one moment where we did this one part of the story, and in that story you learn how to get into another room. And I suppose that's a puzzle in itself, because you're learning.
Yeah, but I think
there's no puzzles.
With it being such a narrative heavy game, puzzles can sometimes like break the flow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work. So it's probably for the best that there wasn't. Because if the game was, say, 5 hours instead, because you spent 2 hours of that doing little puzzles here and there, it probably would have made it a worse game. Yeah.
No, I agree, to be fair. And everything looks really nice as well, even when it changes like art style and stuff. It's not like the best graphics ever, but
it's quite old.
It's really good for the time. Like the foresty areas and the house itself look really good. And it's kind of telling the story as you're walking through the house. And even you can pick up little bits by looking at the decorations and stuff like that. I would say it's downside though. Well, one of its downsides, because I feel like a walking simulator storyteller isn't for everyone. But one of its downsides
has the word simulator in it. I'm obviously going to have a go.
He's engaged.
You simulate every step.
Neurons activate.
Simulate
to bend your toes at the right time.
That's like QWOP, if you've ever played QWOP.
Oh, yes.
Or Baby Steps when that comes out.
Yes. But its story, I thought, was really good, but it leaves so many questions unanswered.
Yeah.
To the point where at the end, like Dulcie really loved it. She said it was like fantastic. It was probably the best in its genre. Whereas I left it thinking that was really good, and I'm glad we went through it. But I'd rather they answered some of the questions and it just be an hour longer.
Yeah.
Because it like alludes to stuff.
Is it done intentionally? Or
I was going to say, was that the setup
forgot about
it?
It's definitely done intentionally, but I feel like it almost feels like they've cut it out. Because it gets like you're doing this last little bit, and then because it's doing like a flashback of your character, and then it's telling the story of the grandma, I think, in this, and she's going into this house in the sea essentially, and she's stood in front of it, and the lights start going, and then you get pulled out of her diary as a kid. That's the story it's telling, and then you get like taken away, so it doesn't tell that story.
Is that not set up for 2 though?
No, It's definitely not set up for a sequel.
No.
The way it ends is not set up.
Not exactly a sequel, but it could even be a side game or
It's quite a few years
Untold.
old now. I think we probably would have known.
it would have already happened.
Something's telling me it's 2018.
Yeah.
They might have intended to do something else, but
and then just never followed it.
I don't think they did. I think it was intended. I think they intended to end it like that.
Leaving some things open is good.
Yes, definitely.
But sometimes leaving too much open.
Yeah, you never find out what's going on with a family.
I mean, if you look into it, if you go on like forums and stuff, that you might find that you've missed something, just like reading or something, and maybe that's an allegory for like dementia or something like that for the old woman, and the memory gets cut off, or that sort of thing. It could have a meaning.
I did have a quick look online, and I realized some people who share the sentiment.
Yeah,
they're kind of like, well, I just feel like it could have had more. It could have answered some of the questions, but not all the questions.
Yeah,
because it feels like the family's cursed.
Yeah,
but there's always like an allude to like, are we just unfortunate, or is there something? But that's paranormal that's attacking us.
But that's the type of question that's best left unanswered to me.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because you could answer some of the misfortunes with like,
reason.
With reason.
Yeah.
One of the first ones is about this kid who's really hungry, and that goes places for some reason. That goes to some weird. Spoilers. It goes some weird places. But she eats something at the start, and me and Dulcie were like, is she just hallucinating this? Because she's eating like something that's growing. And she's eating something bad, and she's hallucinating it. But you don't know for certain. And then some of them end like normally, and then some of them end with like powers, and some of them end. It's weird. It's strange. It's a strange game, but overall though,
really enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it.
I think
it's a good like night. It's like almost like a date night. Oh, it's raining outside. Let's put on this game, or it's kind of like putting on a film, but you're playing it.
There's a lot of games in that genre that are good. I mean, I've played Firewatch. I think you played that, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, I thought
when
it was
I
really
mentioned
good.
it on here.
I played Firewatch.
You've played it as well, Ben.
Yeah,
I'd recommend that because that's just a nice, slow, easy, narrative heavy, again, walking sim. It doesn't end the best. It's definitely longer than Edith Finch. I think it's maybe 5 or 6 hours.
Okay.
But it was good. It probably invokes the same sort of just like, calmness.
Yeah.
And
cool.
A lot of respect for the team who made it as well. A lot of creative stuff going on.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I am playing another game that I'm going to tease for next time.
Tease.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Oh, teased for next time.
But I'll talk about that next time.
Happy days.
What about you, Ben?
Me, can you guess?
Factorio. Or Cractorio, should I say.
Up to about 285 hours now.
Oh, Jesus. Jeez Louise. I think that's more than I've played on any game. Actually, that's a lie. I think Pokemon Pearl had like 300 hours on. But I was a kid then.
Not to bore everyone with it, because I'm sure doing it's different to talking about it. So I have been setting up new mines because I've been running out of ore, and all I've done is finished one of the planets enough to automate returning the ore from that planet. So that's about it. That's all I'll say about it. Playing Rivals with you guys, that's a new thing to me because I don't really do this kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's been quite fun.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that, did we?
Yeah, we've all been playing a bit of Marvel Rivals together. We actually managed to get a 6-man squad with Damon and Ryan.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
It was a bit rocky at first, but I think we all managed to find our
niche.
Yes.
Niches. Ben was very reluctant to be a support.
But he's great at it.
I'm a healer in this.
He's fantastic at it, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Would you say he's Mr. Fantastic at it?
No,
because he's Rocket.
Because I was Rocket.
Damn.
It's a weird one for me. I'm normally a tank in most things that I play, so I don't like it because there's no shotgun.
You could if you were allowed to play Punisher.
Yeah, no, I'm not allowed to.
Or Winter Soldier.
Well, I suppose in a way, but it worked really well.
That's the only other character I'm good with. Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
it's
makes
only
sense,
the character you tried, Ben.
Yeah, I know, because come on.
But the thing is, when I played Overwatch, I loved Overwatch, but I mainly played tanks because I felt like tanks were really good in Overwatch. But that's the one thing with Rivals I feel like is lacking is the tanks.
It just seems to have the smallest roster.
Yeah, it's quite a small roster, and they just don't seem as impactful. I just feel like they're not quite there yet, and they're all weirdly complicated to play. There's no like easy tank. There's an easy support. There's easy DPS, but there's no like easy tank.
I get that.
The melee's just too slow for me. It doesn't. I know a tank is a slower character. I don't mean that. I don't know how to explain it. It's just not quite right,
and
it doesn't quite work for me. That's why I avoided them in the end, and I couldn't hear "I'm hulking out" anymore. I felt physically sick.
Well, when the thing comes out, maybe you'll be better.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you play as Penny Parker mostly, don't you?
Yeah, she was my favourite tank. I did try Venom at the beginning. He was quite fun, but I can't aim where he's swinging very well. It's really hard to manoeuvre.
Yeah, again, it's hard to play.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Hard.
Definitely. How many times can you hear the moon?
That's still funny. I do that at work even now. I come out with the phrases at work just to annoy Damon.
Power on to Khonshu.
Yes.
It's been really good to play with the six of us. We're not really done competitive. Well, one of us is on PC, so that actually stops us from doing competitive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
it'll be
a blessing.
interesting to try. Maybe
he can switch over to his Xbox. He also uses a controller with the PC, so there's absolutely no reason.
Okay, yeah, he can just swap then. I'm glad you enjoyed it because you were reluctant to play it at first.
Yeah, it's not my thing. I enjoy squad fun, but there's no story. There's nothing to drive for. There's not, it's just not my thing. But no, it's actually quite good fun with you guys. That's about it for me, really. Oh, I'm still playing Like a Dragon in the background. I've finally done that dungeon.
Yes.
I was level 15 when I went in and I walked it.
I can imagine.
I fought around that far.
Did you do the baby formula quest?
No, I don't know where it is.
How did you get to level 15 without doing that?
I fought around a lot.
I think you can still go back and do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that. I did a guy with a pawn shop, trash up against that. Yeah. That was quite good.
Yeah.
I did do one where I had to find a lobster, and then you scour these lobsters because this guy's like crying about his pet lobster's gone missing, and then when you actually give the lobster back, the guy says, "Oh, why don't you stay for some
lobster?"
Yeah, basically stay for some dinner. He's like a homeless man. And he starts trying to cook the lobster, and you're like, "No." And he's like, "Why were you so sad?" And he's saying,
his dinner had gone missing.
Because my dinner, I've been walking this girl lobster for weeks trying to get it up to bulk. And then the next part of the side quest is getting him some food instead of eating the lobster. But I haven't done that yet. So he's probably eating the lobster.
In the meantime.
Yeah, that's about me anyway. Okay, well, all that being said, before we boot-ba-doo, let's talk about what we did at the weekend.
Yes, so we went to Liverpool Anime Gaming Con. All together. We don't get a lot of time to all go to stuff together.
It was the annual Garnish retreat.
It was. Yes. And we had a good time, didn't we, guys? We bought some. Well, I bought some D&D dice. A lot of D&D dice. Not gonna lie.
I bought some D&D painting stuff.
Yes, you did. And then
I went home and bought some D&D dice online. I was inspired by the D&D dice at the show.
You wouldn't download a dice.
Yeah. It was definitely more anime than gaming, as we've all said.
It was a general consensus, wasn't it? It was just
obviously
a bit of a bolt on.
Yeah, we're a gaming, obviously, podcast.
Yes.
And we all dabble in a little bit of anime, so we thought it'd be nice to go to this one because we'll have a bit of anime and we'll have a bit of gaming, probably focus on the gaming side.
I've got Crunchyroll. I don't know if you're calling it dabble.
we play more games than we watch anime, I would say,
very true.
As a whole. So we got there and it was two buildings, wasn't it, essentially?
Yes.
So there was one big building that we walked into. It was a big floor, like you can imagine.
Four floors of anime.
Well, originally, we just thought it was the one floor.
Yes.
Like any convention floor, as you can imagine, loads of stalls, loads of anime stuff. we did kind of think, is this it? And we paid for the early bird because we needed to leave early. And is this it? There's a lot of good stuff there. We still spent a good, say, hour on the first floor. Looking at all the different stalls, really cool stuff. And then we realised, you say there was multiple floors.
It was only from Ben going to find the loo that he knew that there was more floors.
I think there was 4.
Me and Kendall, shout out Kendall, went to just see whether we could find the gaming stuff so that I knew where I was going. Didn't realise a different building went up 4 floors worth of anime stuff.
So there was a lot.
It's not gone good. Then I couldn't find you guys for ages.
The first floor was all stalls.
Yeah.
I think the second floor we're probably not counting because that was a canteen, wasn't it?
Yes.
Then there was another floor that was more stalls.
Yeah, well, the canteen was like the tabletop area if you wanted to play D&D or card games or other stuff like that.
Yeah, true. And when we say canteen, it definitely wasn't a canteen.
No.
As in they weren't serving any food.
You just had sit-down tables.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be a canteen, but...
If anyone's listening who heads the organisation, I doubt you are, but if you are, food stalls, man.
Yeah, he missed a trick.
I was starving.
KFC was rammed.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a trek away, so because it wasn't in the building. So there was another floor of stalls, weren't there? And then there was like a stage.
And Artist Alley as well.
And then they had Artist Alley. So Artist Alley had loads of like art. A lot of it, to be honest, a lot of the stalls were people's art. Just not necessarily painting, do a sculptures and all that. A lot of 3D printed stuff, but
which is cool.
All very cool. And then there was the stage where they did, I think
lip sync battle.
Lip sync battles.
Like an artist called, was it Lele? Lele sings, something like that.
She came on, did some songs. We didn't really stay around for that. It's not really our scene, is it?
Doing some Googling afterwards, though, it seemed like it was a pretty successful show for that artist. Like, there's lots of like Instagram photos and followers and stuff.
Good. Yeah, she came all the way from Australia.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Crazy.
To what was it? A race course?
Wherever it was.
Horse racing.
So it probably took a couple hours, maybe 2, to do the whole anime thing.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer. And we thought, all right, that was cool. Let's go and do the gaming section. This is what we came for. So we left the building and went all the way to the other building.
Merch,
There was nothing. Absolutely. It was literally one hall full of game consoles, which is cool. Like loads of older games.
I think it had pretty much every game console ever made there.
Probably. Yeah. Different.
Or at least the like remakey type little.
Yeah. So there's no PS1, but there was a PS1 Classic, that sort of thing. With loads of games to play, and that is all the gaming was, which was a bit disappointing. Because he advertised.
We did try and check out if the upper floor had anything, but it was just lights off up there.
It was advertised as an anime and gaming convention, where it was an anime convention with a games room.
I think when they say gaming, they kind of put in D&D, card games, all that into it as well.
Yes,
which is fair because that is a game.
It is a game. I think just colloquially, gaming.
When you say gaming, you think Mario, Sonic.
I mean, the picture did have the guy dressed as Master Chief. So
yes,
and a girl dressed as David in it. So, but there wasn't really. It was just playing games. However, there was a few tournaments going on.
There was
good fun. So the 3 of us. So not yourself, Ben, but me, Joe, and Jake all signed up for a Smash Bros tournament.
We did.
Yes,
indeed.
I'm not very good at Smash Bros. That's the thing.
That's why
I think you still could have beaten some of the people there.
But not the really good people there.
Oh god, no.
So shout out to those.
So it was probably about, was it 5 rounds?
I think so.
Total, something like that. There was a really big turnout.
I think it was like 45 participants.
Yeah, so it was hench. It was really good. Now we all got past the first round, didn't we?
We did.
Which was a challenge because whoever's Switch it was had changed the buttons on Smash Bros.
Yes.
And it caught a lot of people out. You could tell a lot of people were frustrated who'd maybe played Smash Bros, maybe not amazing at it, but we're used to a certain button set. All the people who were better, I think, adapted to the new button set like us.
Well, until it was my turn, then I just changed it.
Oh, you changed yours, but
yeah, you broke the rhythm.
But me and Joe managed. So we got through the first round, which was really good. And we'd sort of got chatting to a few people, and we made some friends.
We did. So
I'll be listening, I guess.
Definitely, because we've had a few listens since then, and we gave out a few cards and spoke to a few people, especially at the Smash Bros tournament bit.
Yeah.
So if you are listening, hello. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, 100%. So
definitely GG, because most of them kicked our butts.
Well, this is the thing. So in the second round, well, you could tell who was good from the first round just by the way they were playing. And in the second round, Jake got against one of those. I didn't catch his name, but the guy with the yellow jacket.
Yes.
You know who you are.
He was so good, he randomed.
Yeah, I sat down, went straight to Samus, who's my main, and he just clicked random, and I went, "You're going to kick my ass, aren't you?" And he was like,
He did.
He did. Well, it was close, but he beat me.
Yeah.
Fair and square.
I probably got a lucky matchup because I beat my next guy. Joe's just good, so he obviously beat his next guy.
I had some pretty hairy moments though, getting used to the controls each time I sat down. I was like,
because you didn't change him, did you, at all, till I think the very end?
No, I didn't change.
You didn't change him at all.
No.
I managed to get my buttons at least, but
actually, someone else changing the controls might have got me one of the wins because I forgot that someone had turned on up to jump. I think it was probably you,
That
Jake.
was me, Jake. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I could do that while I was holding down one of my attacks.
Oh,
so
yes.
I got that fully charged up King DDD hammer swing to the top of the map and hit them as they were coming down. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that could happen.
But there was so many moments like that where like the crowd was like gasping. It was a really cool.
It was good.
It really like fuels you to keep on going as well.
Yeah.
Definitely good for a spectator sport anyway. I quite enjoyed watching.
So
smash on in pubs.
Yeah, definitely. I've watched that.
I did enjoy the moment where somebody leant on the table and the screen went off in one of Brad fight. And
there wasn't mine. Something happened in mine, and I paused it, didn't I?
Yeah,
was that it?
Yeah, that was it. The monitor went off. You managed to pause it, and then you counted back in really well. Good counting. So good sport.
But that was the game I lost.
Yeah, I know.
Because I went against the same yellow jacket guy, and he was very good. I think Joe got through that round though, didn't you? You got to the semis.
Yeah.
And then
Joe lost to the guy who won.
Then Joe lost to the guy who won. Now the guy who beat me and Jake then got beat by like an 11-year-old kid. I don't know how old he was.
Good at playing Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I don't know how old he was, but he looked like he was quite young.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was mint at Donkey Kong. He thrashed everyone until the final when the guy who beat Joe also went as Donkey Kong and destroyed him.
And he gave him like another match to pay back. And
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, you can be Donkey Kong and I'll just be random. And he still thrashed him as Palutena.
It was insane. So yeah, it was so good to watch. There's a lot of good sports. You could tell some people maybe a bit frustrated that they lost because of the buttons or just frustrated in general, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was a good atmosphere. So it was nice chatting to some people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Got some good compliments as well from the people we fought against. I remember the last match I won was against another content creator. He was doing stuff around the con.
Yeah.
And he said that was the best game of Smash he's ever had in his life. I was
know.
like, dude,
It was a
thank
very
you for
tense
that.
game.
It was so tense. And he was a character that I never fight against, like Iggy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the
it was very
Bowser
good.
Junior clones. It's like, so I couldn't get near him. He was great.
So yeah, really good time. So although the gaming side of the convention was lacking, I did really enjoy that tournament. I'd definitely do it again.
It was also quite nice just talking to people, telling them about the garnish.
Yeah,
I've quite
handed out
enjoyed
cards
doing it.
left, right, and centre with our.
Well, leaving them everywhere.
Yeah.
I left them everywhere.
Yeah.
I played a game. I left a load on that table.
Yeah.
And it is quite daunting going to a con and speaking to people you don't know and like then having to advertise something you do. But everyone took it with like great like fervour. They were like, oh yeah, nice. I want to hear more about this.
And I think it was good doing it in the gaming area because that's why everyone's there. We did go with the intention of speaking to more people around the convention, but I think we quickly realised when it was primarily anime focused that not everyone who likes anime likes games, so they're probably not going to be as interested. So we didn't want to bother anyone. But we're going to try and get to more conventions through the year.
Definitely. We're not going to have a 1 yearly garnish meal. We're going to have multiple.
We're going to try.
Quarterly, maybe.
Cool. So Jake, take us in.
But Badoo, it's the news. So it's not as busy this time. The last two episodes have been jam-packed of news, but we still have a few little tidbits.
I feel like a lot of the news that we do have actually came out quite close to our last episode.
It did.
So it's all quite old news.
We're always good at that. Yeah. Just always.
So we'll start off with Sony or PlayStation. there's been a CEO shakeup.
Yes. Now this literally feels like months ago. But
It does. It
was
does.
not that long ago.
So when Jim Ryan, I was going to say quit, retired. They basically announced that they were going to have two co-CEOs of PlayStation. It was going to be Herman Holst and Hideaki Nishino. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. One basically, obviously a Japanese man and an American.
Herman Holst. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Maybe German. I don't know. He used to be head of Guerrilla Games.
Yes, Horizon.
Yeah.
Basically.
So.
But as of recently, they have, I'm going to say, demoted Herman Holst, and he is no longer a co-CEO. It's just Hideaki Nishino.
So originally it was one was in charge of PlayStation and one was in charge of PlayStation Studios.
Yes.
I believe. As like joint CEOs. Now I think that's still
a thing.
But one is just now a CEO. So Herman Holst now reports directly to the CEO. Now I thought when they announced this, they did say that it was temporary, that it was in the interim.
I thought so too, but looking back,
it seemed like
it definitely wasn't. It was more of
it seemed more like a permanent thing.
Yeah. And to be fair, the speculation online is, there has to be consequences for all these live service flops.
It does. I don't know whether Herman Hulse is the right person to blame. I think know.
Jim Ryan's obviously set it up, but I do think, there's rumours that Herman Holst, his baby was Concord, and he really pushed that forward.
Yeah.
So he might have been following a lot in Jim Ryan's footsteps, or they were both working together to do this live service push. But obviously now it seems like they're backtracking heavily and they're trying to change course.
It is good to hold.
Yes.
It's good to hold higher ups accountable for mistakes rather than just firing people at the bottom.
Yes.
However, he hasn't been fired. No one's been fired. They've just been demoted to a slightly less high position in the studio. So it's still second in command.
It also makes me think, because he used to be the head of Guerrilla Games, is that why Horizon has been pushed so heavily?
Yes. Surely.
The
only logical explanation.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not quite what everyone wants, I would say. More Horizon. I think they're pushing it a bit too much.
I do, but the bubble will probably burst when they do the Horizon live service game, and it's maybe not as popular as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, very true. One of the only live service games still doing, apparently.
I know.
But they've also they're backtracking on a lot of stuff, because they've also got rid of the PSN requirement for PC now.
They have, and they've done what I think they should have done in the first place, which is you can still sign up for PSN and you'll get bonuses. When you do Uplay.
Yes.
You sign into Uplay, you get some new skins.
Yeah.
They've done that.
Which is a good way of doing it. Yeah, rather than saying you have to do it.
Gives people the choice.
Do it. They've also come out and said that they're going to, at the start of next year, PS4 games won't be offered in the free games with PS Plus.
Yeah, so just a bit of clarity on that. Is it the monthly games or is it
monthly games?
So the subscription will still have them.
Yes, yeah, because that would be bad.
Oh, so it's more of a push of trying to drop off than the last generation. Then hopefully,
I think so,
which is good. Because it's probably about time.
Well, I've heard whinge.
They'll just offer PS5 games now, whether they've got enough games to offer.
Well, this is a question. There's still quite a lot of PS4 games I'd still like to be offered.
Same.
But I think it's to get people away from the PS4, because people who only have a PS4 and PS Plus are still getting PS4 games.
That's true.
So it pushes them away from it now, because they're like,
please buy a PS5.
Exactly.
And there's also PS5 versions of a lot of PS4 games.
Yeah, so we'll probably still get some, but in that way.
Yeah.
Boom.
So moving over from blue team to green team, Xbox, are they going full third party? Because Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation.
That's cool. I mean it's probably...
I'm for it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I'm very for it. But it is quite a sign that to me, Forza is one of their big three. Or it used to be one of their big three.
I'd argue it's still bigger than the likes of Halo or Gears. commercially. So at the
Yeah.
I mean, it's got like every Forza game is still highly regarded, whereas last Halo kind of dropped off a bit with fans. Gears is kind of obviously the new game coming out, but it feels like ages since the last one.
Very true.
So
also Forza Horizon 5 came out a while ago, and there's been a Forza Motorsport since then, which hasn't been confirmed.
I wouldn't know, but Horizon 5 to me didn't hit the spot compared to 4, but then again that was probably because 4 was UK.
In England,
I can imagine.
So I think it stayed in the limelight much longer. 4. It just felt like it did, but that could have been because I was playing it. If you see what I mean.
It's like semi-recognizable locations.
Yeah.
Around the world, I don't know what the consensus was.
I wonder if they'll do the rest of the Horizon games, considering the starting with 5.
I don't think so, because there's a weird thing with Forza, any driving game, where they lose the license to the cars.
Car licensing. Because they don't even stay on Game Pass that long, I don't think.
I don't think you can get Forza Horizon 4 now.
Jeez.
And a lot of the older motorsports, you just get delisted.
That's pretty bad, isn't it? Considering they have to sign these licenses again for the next game anyway.
Yeah. It's really crafty.
Yeah, definitely. But Phil Spencer has been in a few interviews, and he's basically said
nothing's off the cards.
Yeah, there's no red line. Nothing's off the cards. Which I'm just glad they're finally saying it, because all this like tiptoeing around
speculation
has been, because it's obvious that they were going to do it. They've been like kind of doing it and then saying, "Oh, we'll see where it goes. We know where you want to take it."
Yeah,
just tell us.
I do think it's good because it's, get it on Game Pass and you can get it day one for quote unquote free, or wait and you can get it everywhere else. It still should drive people to Xbox, but it does make a hardware future for Xbox seem less.
Well, he's also come out and said they still want to stay in the console market.
Yeah,
they still want to be the best console.
He does, and maybe Xbox does, but does Microsoft? Microsoft is going to look at it, and Xbox sales, physical box sales, are down.
Yes,
but they always make a loss on them anyway.
I know, but if you look at hardware sales being down, software sales being up, from Microsoft's point of view, are they going to look at that and say, "Well, push software, sack off hardware"?
Well, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I know.
Letting other people purchase the Xbox games for their console.
Yeah,
their software sales will go way up. So
but then
it's like they're unshackling themselves from the console.
Yes,
I mean they could make more if they wanted to, but they
once
don't have
they
to
are fully unshackled,
out Xbox games.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. When they're unshackled, is Microsoft going to want to continue building a console?
Yeah.
Just because Phil Spencer says he wants to, and Xbox have said they want to, they're owned by Microsoft.
Xbox
are they
everywhere.
going to want to?
Well,
and that's the other thing.
That's the ads at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, they're basically saying everything's an Xbox, which is saying you don't need an actual Xbox.
Yeah.
So although Phil Spencer is saying hardware is important to him, we want to have a console in the future where people buy it because of the hardware. Is that actually going to happen?
5 Xboxes at home, thank you very much.
Yeah. I've got an Xbox at home.
Is it going to go Stadia route, just buying a controller?
Maybe. They could still sell controllers, as you say.
I think there'll be another generation of Xbox.
So do I.
I'm hoping so.
I do think that might be the last.
Same, but I do think I'm quite skeptical where the whole console market's going to go. PS7, let's say. Is there going to be a PlayStation 7 as well?
I think so. I think the console market won't go anywhere until streaming is reliable enough.
Yeah, I was going to say the frustration to me, streaming is definitely not ready because playing a game locally you don't beat it yet.
But let's say 10 years in the future is not the next generation, the generation after.
Yeah, look at where we've come in 10 years.
Is it going to be there?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it'll still do streaming, but there'll be a little hardware box that's like a local memory that you stream a certain amount of the game onto at a time that you're in.
Yeah.
And then it does run like it's playing locally.
Yeah.
Rather than running it from a server.
You may be streaming in advance or something like that.
Yeah.
You're streaming
make the equipment a lot
cheaper.
cheaper.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah. Who knows where the future's going.
But I would be reluctant to say that there's going to be a significant future for an Xbox hardware platform.
Well, from my opinion, obviously, probably preferring the PlayStation infrastructure, and that's where I go to mostly. Why would I buy an Xbox if all the games are coming?
Well, because the games are
even
quote unquote free.
I do have a
there
series
first.
Yeah.
That is like I would still pay for like a Series S like system to have Game Pass, and then I can play those games earlier and quote unquote free. Otherwise, the games I probably will never get to, and they're £70 each time, and you get them late. That doesn't entice me.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Is Forza Horizon 5 coming out at that full price tag?
I believe so. I've seen memes around it. I've not seen anything official.
Because is it already 2 years old, that game?
I think at least, so, yeah.
At least,
more.
Yeah. Because Motorsport came out last year, did it? Or the year before?
Yeah. Even? No, I think it was early last year, I think it came out.
Okay. So, yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, well.
Moving on, because it's been quite a CEO, it's like shareholder time in the year. So it's been quite a CEO heavy.
Going to the end of the financial year, isn't it?
Heavy couple of weeks. And EA has learned nothing. I will.
And they never will.
They never will. So what's he called? The
Andrew
CEO?
Wilson.
Oh God, this guy.
I don't hate him as much as most people do. I don't know why.
But he's basically come out and said, so Dragon Age Veilguard has sold very badly. Well, I say very badly. It's just not met their expectations.
Not met targets.
I think it's like 50% down or something.
Yeah. Its engagement was 50% less as well. So engagement isn't necessarily sales.
Yes.
It's also people using EA Play to play the first like 10 hours or
which can be a thing around like budgets for games. Like budgets for games are so high these days that how are you supposed to, if you don't get everybody playing your game, are you ever going to make the money back? But alas, he's come out, Andrew Wilson, and basically said, I don't have the exact quote, but he's basically alluded to it wouldn't have sold so badly if it was a live service.
Well, if it was a live service, surely it wouldn't have sold at all.
Exactly.
You don't pay for live service games.
This is that moment where they have just made a bad game. It's not gone down well. It's that anybody that's ever I have not played it, so I can't really say, but everybody I've spoken to is just say it's just not like the last games. It's just not as good.
Yeah.
So as that line of games has happened, this is a bad game.
And it's also got to be compared to Baldur's Gate 3 being a medieval fantasy party
timing things as well. You're right, Joe.
Yeah.
You can't come out and say that about live services. And then last year, Baldur's Gate sold. It's still selling.
Yeah, it is.
Millions.
As you say, you don't have the exact quote. I've read the quote. I can't remember exactly what it is. I don't think he explicitly said it like that.
No, I think he basically said that people want multiplayer, like open multiplayer worlds or something.
It was something to do with
interactive.
Having some sort of shared world experience or something like that. It was very corporate CEO mumbo jumbo. I don't think it was really saying anything either way, but there was some sort of some sort of implied if it was live service, maybe we could have made some more money back, because live services obviously make money back.
Also funny because apparently
so many cancelled live services.
But I don't think he's even said live service.
He didn't say live service.
He just said if there was some way of like having a shared experience, so that could be co-op, PvP or something like that, that would have engaged the fans better. Because
it would have sold better if it was just Elden Ring.
But
it wouldn't, because that's not what Dragon Age is. And to be fair, they started this development. Agreed. They started this development with it being live service,
and that's probably
I think 2 years in, they pivoted because they saw live services.
But they didn't pivot enough.
Because from what I've heard, when it's come out, it's still got some live service.
Yeah.
Maybe not like the actual live service elements, but it's got like the remnants, like loot and gear and stuff like that.
It is still a game I'd like to play, because from what I've seen, contrary to what Ben said, I don't think it's a bad game. It's not a good
some people are
Dragon Age game.
Yeah.
It's not a bad game, and
that's what I said. In comparison to what it's come from, people are saying it's a bad game.
Some of the writing
isn't
great.
Yeah.
But gameplay wise, I've heard it's actually pretty good. Some people not a fan, but I've seen other people say they really like the gameplay. And
people who don't follow Dragon Age have gone, well, it's okay, but do we have to stop every 10 minutes for a chat? Can't that be done on movement while you're going? Like Red Dead, you rode horses across the country, talking and putting content in.
In RPGs, I agree with what you're saying.
Stopping dead every fight.
However, most RPGs you stop dead to talk, and Dragon Age is pretty bad for that. So
Mass Effect, between missions, you're in the ship for half an hour chatting to everybody.
So although I do,
but you don't have to do it. To be fair, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, this is forced.
Yeah,
but I think most RPGs it's forced. Like 9 out of 10 of them, you know what I mean? It's pretty much
for progression's sake, it is.
Yeah, you have to chat or you have to watch a cutscene. Most games don't do it like Red Dead or Last of Us, where you're talking while you're moving.
I think that's a better way of doing it.
I do.
Don't get me wrong.
But most games aren't quite like that.
Yeah.
But the gameplay of Dragon Age enticed me far more. I don't play Dragon Age because I don't really like the way they play, whereas this one seemed a lot more my cup of tea. So it might be the type of game that has legs, because the people who are going to buy day one are your Dragon Age fans who maybe didn't like it as much, but the people who buy it over time, people like me who thought it looked good, but because I'm not a big Dragon Age fan, I'm not going to buy it day one, but I might buy it in the future because I like the way it looks.
I don't think it's going to make back its money I don't even think it'll ever make the money that they wanted it to make over its whole lifespan, because it's got too much bad. Like the reviewers I trust and listen to have all said the combat isn't good and it's boring and repetitive. And then the writing as well is terrible, and that's across the board. People are saying the writing.
Everyone's pretty much saying the writing is not great.
But same, I've heard that the combat's okay, but it's repetitive.
I've heard some people say it's really good. So I've heard both. And I heard a lot of people say they didn't like Final Fantasy 16's combat for the same reason.
Very true.
And I'm really enjoying that. The people who I listen to who liked Final Fantasy 16 are the same people who like Dragon Age. So
to pull us out this Dragon Age, like the actual game talk, because it's more about, this bit's more about like what he said, the Andrew Wilson. And it would have sold better if it had like, I'm going to say live service elements. I know he didn't say that specifically.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
Why do they have this view? Because live service is going down the pan, surely.
Because if you get a good live, if you get a live service hit,
it's a money vote,
good hit. Yeah,
I think it's just talking to the shareholders at the end of the day. Don't blame me. Blame the devs. They made a bad game. I think it's a bit of that, to be fair. If they hadn't have started the game as a live service, it might have done better. So
might have had more time on the right things.
It'll also be trying to probably push shareholders into letting them greenlight maybe more live service elements.
Please don't make Mass Effect. Please don't turn Mass Effect 5 into a live service game.
Is Mass Effect 5 going to come out?
That's true.
BioWare's less than 100 people now. They've reallocated most of the staff.
Oh, and fired some as well.
Yeah.
Don't know what they're doing. Anyway, to some hopefully more positive news. Again, from all the shareholders and CEOs, Take-Two have come out and said that GTA is still scheduled for fall 2025. So fingers crossed that still happens.
They said they can't say absolutely it will come out, because there's always a chance it will slip, but it is still looking good for fall 2025. So where's more trailers?
The game is, we should say now, what price we're quoting, what we think GTA is going to come out at, and then we'll go back.
Standard price. Standard price. If it goes up,
I'm going 90.
No, I'm not paying £90. Like
I would, because I know what it is.
Stupid,
and I think that could be
a part of the problem.
I am. You're right.
I wouldn't buy Witcher 4 for £100.
No.
So. And I love
spent
The Witcher.
60 quid on Factorio plus DLC, even though it's been out flipping 5, 7, 10 years, whatever it is. I still bought it at 60 quid.
But I wouldn't go back in time and pay £100 for Witcher 3, knowing now how good it is, because it's a ridiculous price point.
It is. I don't think they'll change it, because I think they're smarter than that. They'll make less money by charging more. They'll sell it to less people.
I agree.
And they'll sell less.
It's going to be out for like 10 years.
Yeah.
As soon as they bring that,
that's never going to be.
I think
it'll
be £70, and I think it'll be £70 for a long time.
Yes.
I bought GTA 5 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to up the price.
No,
they don't need to up the price. And if they do, it's I'm going to be very depressed
But
for the gaming industry as a whole.
I've got that horrible feeling that by mid-year this year, games are going to have bumped up again.
I hope not.
They might. I mean,
that's why I'm saying I think it's going to be around the 90 mark by the time we get there.
I'm not trying to turn this into a political podcast, but there's a lot of things going on in the world that is threatening the price of things going up.
The tariffs.
Yeah. A lot of analysts are coming out and saying that is going to put the price of games up.
I've heard that too.
And consoles and everything.
That was my point, yeah.
So maybe, yeah.
On a lighter note about GTA, I did see a funny little Reddit post that calculated the release date timings of all the GTAs that have been in the past, and it says they thought, well, GTA 17 will come out in roughly the year 7,762. It's like exponentially growing in time of development.
Yeah, sorry to say it, guys. This is probably the last one I'll ever see.
Yeah, that is funny. They've also said that, I don't know if they've said or it's hinted at that it might come to Switch 2.
Really?
Wow.
Talks about that.
They have to be stream-based, surely, because...
We don't know what Switch 2 is like.
No, we don't. No,
there's been a lot of rumours of Xbox games coming to Switch 2, like Age of Mythology and Civ 7 even.
Well, we don't know if GTA 5 is next-gen only, do we?
We don't.
GTA 6.
6? Sorry, yeah.
We don't, but I would assume so.
You'd like to assume so, but...
Yeah, well, they're still not dropping the last gen, are they? Don't set me off again.
It's going to be coming out... Well, I think we were at like the midpoint of the gen now. Even a bit over.
Yeah.
So it would be silly for them to...
Yeah, but again, think of all the money that's on the table for people who don't have
don't have the money to upgrade. Hard times in the world, as we said.
If they play the long game, they'll earn a lot more money in the long run.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think they'll put a next gen version on Switch 2, but they could put a last gen version on Switch 2. So it's another whole console they're putting on. So I think it will. I think it'll come out on
the GTA news is supposed to be the uplifting news.
Well, it was.
Yeah, but look at what Red Dead looked like. Red Dead 2 on last gen consoles. I'm not particularly worried about how it's going to look or perform on.
That is true.
Next gen. Or this gen.
I hope it's just this gen, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. In fall 2025, hopefully. So I think that's it for the news.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Nice little segment there.
Should I do some socials? Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have a go. All right. Okay, so you can get us at gaminggarnish@gmail.com. Email us if you have any questions or want to, give us a suggestion for something in an episode. That's always good fun.
Yeah. A community backlog game you want on the list?
Send us money. That's always good. No. The socials, you can get us on Facebook, the usual stuff all over the place. Instagram, Blue Skies, Red Note, TikTok. God, the list goes on.
We're everywhere.
If you're already listening to this, then you've already found us.
That's true.
Tell a friend. That's the social thing. That's always the thing. Tell a friend.
Join us on Discord.
You can join us on Discord. There are invitations everywhere. There's always a good conversation going on in there. Or Joe's talking about space trucks again. Oh, there's a good conversation going on in there. Kidding, Joe.
Hey, leave my trucks alone.
Speaking of telling a friend,
yes.
Me and Jake recorded a little question for the Friends Per Second podcast, which went out last weekend.
We did.
They read out our question. In fact, they didn't read it out. They played our question because it was an audio-based question. So shout out to
my
them.
Absolute shock. Hearing mine and Brad's voice on their podcast.
I was shaking. I was listening to it thinking, are they going to read or are they going to do ours? And then when I heard my voice followed by theirs, it was crazy.
I've had a little pit in my stomach like, oh my God, is it cringy?
I know. A little bit. We did plug. we plugged the podcast, but...
if Jake failed to plug it last time we were mentioned by them. So.
So that was a really good surprise allowed weekend. And again, thank you to them for doing our question. We have had as Jake alluded to earlier, we did
get mocked for being Northern too.
We got mocked for being Northern,
Yeah.
We got a few new followers. Now, we don't know whether they're from the convention or from Friends Per Second, but again, just want to say thank you for whoever's joining us, however you've come to find us.
Wherever you're from, you are very welcome.
Yeah.
And thanks for
You are welcome for our podcast. Both. You are welcome. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so that moves us on to our Buried by Backlog section.
Section.
All went wrong at once. Which is my game this time. I have to say, I jumped ahead of Jake. Jake's normally first in our list. I jumped ahead because this
could say
game...
you have overthrown him.
Hey, spoilers.
So I chose Overthrown, and it's a little indie game, town builder, made by were they Swedish? Did you say, Jake? Sorry.
Yes, I think so.
Swedish developer called Brimstone, and I followed the game for quite a while. I really like the idea of it. It's a town builder with powers is the idea.
Yeah. And without trying to remove some of the slower progression, tedium, monotony of those sort of games. In early access, isn't it?
It's in early access now, so I thought it'd be good to get in and have a go. And it's on the Game Pass. So, yeah, what do you think? So we had some problems, didn't we? We'll start off with them because people on S's, not quite optimized, is it?
Yes, I suppose we'll start with that.
You mean you saved on the heating bill?
My Series S, so we played it a couple of times, didn't we?
We essentially had two big sessions on it, didn't we?
Yeah, the first session was about 2 and a bit hours, and I think...
Oh yeah, it's a 6-player multiplayer, so we all got on and we basically stress tested it, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah. So
and then the second time, we think we played it for just over an hour. Both times my Series S was on fire. It was so close to just... It didn't start off
that way. We played pretty well for a good hour and a bit.
Yeah.
It was only when we started really filling out the town.
Yes.
Which, because there was 5 of us, weren't there? So there was us 4 and Damon joined us. So shout out to Damon. That was it. No one else joined us.
No. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm misremembering. I can't remember. So there was 5 of us. So we got through a lot of the content really quickly. And, before we knew it, we had this big town, loads of stuff going on. It was only then it started to feel like it was slowing down a bit. Frame rate was getting low. It was playable, but it was slow. But then it started to affect.
Also caused a lot of party problems, didn't it? We couldn't hear each other.
So mine and Jake's Xboxes got super hot. I think yours crashed fully at one point, didn't it?
Yes.
Mine didn't quite get that far, but it was very hot. And then when we were chatting to each other on party, me and Jake started getting robot voice. You could tell it was causing core issues to the Xbox with everything that was going on. Now, when we first played, it was on, I can't remember what version. The second time we played, did put new content in and some patches.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that hadn't fixed the issue we were having. When we rejoined the same world, it immediately started again.
I think we made a slight mistake because we went for the big map, thinking, there's 4 or 5 of us, let's do it on the big map, and we've got loads to do. And I think that probably caused it a bit more.
Yeah, because I made a town on the medium map, and you joined me, and it didn't have anywhere near as much.
But that was an early town.
Early build. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't notice the problems until we got towards the end of what we'd built.
I see what you mean. Yeah, when we had loads of stuff built, loads of villages.
It seems to load all of its assets all the time, doesn't it? So in the map mode, it's live. So if you go to an overhead view of the map, you can zoom in and see people scrapping.
Which is a really cool map.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah. But you just say it has to render everything, at least to some extent.
So I think that could have been part of the strain.
Yeah.
So anyway, that aside, that was the major issues we had with it, wasn't it? That aside, style. What do you guys think about the style?
I love it. It actually puts me in mind of early Fable concept art, the way stuff shaded and shaped, and it's like there's hard edges, but they're like paintbrushed.
It reminds me of
fairy tale.
Like Fable looks like in your mind's eye.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm getting.
The glossy memories of Fable.
Game. It looks like the art for Fable.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I really like the effects on the powers and stuff like that.
Yes.
When you do go into a super sprint, it's almost Dragon Ball Z-esque.
Yeah.
With like a big
Like charge it
plume
up.
of smoke behind you and stuff, and yeah.
And then the way
There's
you
cool
just
little-
skip as you're if you just keep jumping, you're like skipping almost.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's very fairy tale cartoon.
It's fun.
Style, and it's fun.
Fun
cutesy.
looking. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
like the little style bits that they add for where, like you say, when you are sprinting, if you go across concrete, your broadsword sparks on the floor.
Yes,
Little effects, little things that they added that just...
There was loads of little things. And when you run across water...
You just
get
start
like-
It's
running.
out a bow wave in front of you.
Yeah, there was a lot of
the
attention
sides.
to detail. For an early access game as well, we'll talk about content later, but for the amount of content that was in it, it's good that they focused quite heavily on these sort of like little things, that made the interaction with the game, the moment to moment gameplay made it more fun because you had everything felt considered. Your sword clashing with the ground, the trail of smoke, all the little effects looked really
Definitely
cool.
When you press the crown button, it's like the power button to make you sprint, make you jump higher, everything else.
Yeah, kind of like boosts.
You pull a trigger,
do.
boost whatever you're doing, exactly.
Yeah.
If you press it and nothing else, your crown just floats above your head if you've got the crown.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Yeah,
No, I
just
never noticed that.
hovers.
Yeah. It does
I'm doing
heal
it.
you.
People can see me, but you guys can't.
It does heal you.
Yeah,
When
it
you
heals
hold
your
right
health
trigger
back as well.
So there's a crown that only one person can have. Everyone gets powers. Whoever's got the crown gets way more stamina.
Yeah, they got up to
Way
9
more
bars.
stamina.
Well, actually, on the
Yeah.
update, when we played the update, I was finding that my stamina was going up. I had 8 times by the end.
Well, that's what it did with the crown.
Yeah.
So maybe
So it didn't do that in the
everyone.
first session, though, did it?
No, we
No.
all had like 1 stamina bar.
Yeah.
maybe
So that
that's
might have been
why.
one of the patches. I didn't read the patch notes, to be fair.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, overall, it looks like I quite liked it. I like the idea of pulling a tree out of the ground, and it's a whole tree, and you're running with a tree.
Yes.
That entertains me.
Well, that's from like the gameplay sort of side, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean the fact that it
just the
style of it.
visual.
You
and
you have a
they
whole
have
tree in
rendered
your
like
hand.
the roots under there as
Yeah.
well. You pull them
Yeah.
out. You don't just pull like a big log up.
Yeah. It doesn't just
I
crush
like the
into
style
it.
of the buildings too. It all is a nice little.
It's very cohesive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it works
nice.
well. Control.
Control. So it's a bit hard to control when using the powers sometimes.
I ran into trees regularly.
all the time.
I feel like it needs a bit of especially attacking enemies, maybe a lock on.
Yeah, I felt when I first booted up the game and I swung my sword, I thought, that feels quite good.
Yes,
It
does.
feels like quite
It
a
does.
good combat system, and you was hitting trees and it felt quite good. I did find when you got into combat with actual enemies, because there's a few dotted around the map, they're meant to invade you, don't they?
Well,
But-
the bandits. We didn't
Yeah.
really see much of that because there was so many of us. We went hunting them.
yeah.
Um,
But every time I got into a fight with them, it just felt a little bit jank. As you say, maybe a lock on would be better.
Yeah.
A better.
So you could strafe
roll
around
attack.
one enemy or something because you
Yeah.
can't really.
It felt a bit floaty, it didn't feel as good in combat as the animations made it feel out of combat.
Yeah, the animations
Yeah.
are great. Yeah.
That makes sense. So there's a little bit of work to do there. Maybe more enemies. Once they optimize it better.
Is it going for that sort of thing? Because the
Well-
controls for the actual building aspect were really good.
Mm.
Yeah.
See, I thought the opposite actually.
Yeah.
I was always fumbling the like the placement controls and like the picking of the stuff that I was putting down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I felt like if I press this button, it should do this, but it like took me out of all the menus and I had to start the process all over again.
There was a
now
few
I
times
found
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree there, Joe. That was a little annoying to have gotten to the thing that you want, 4 menus in, say, and you're about to place it, and then you're back out the whole thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
I would prefer it if it went into a build mode rather than just a series of wheels.
Yeah.
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 Like, so
Okay, yeah.
I know you do go into build mode where it puts like a grid around you. You can place things, but it doesn't take you out of doing anything else. So you can still like attack and stuff with your other buttons.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Or be knocked
Because
out of whatever you're doing.
I had to, both times we played, it took a while for me to get into the controls because they kind of feel a bit all over the place. Of what does
you can
what.
tell it wasn't made at first for console.
Yes.
Like you need
Yeah.
keybinds and stuff like that.
I think talking about the cohesion of the visuals before, I don't think that is carried over in the controls, as you're saying.
In the menus or anything like that.
It's things... I can't even think of good examples, but it just felt like what one button would be to select in one menu, maybe in a different menu it's not.
Yes.
And you've found yourself intuitively pressing one button and then it backs you out of everything. It happened more than it needed to. That was all.
I struggled with replacing things. So picking a building up because I dropped it in the wrong place.
Oh yeah, it doesn't put you back into placement mode. It puts you into throwing mode.
Physically open two other menus to put grid mode up.
Yeah.
To be able to then put it back down.
It's funny throwing the sawmill right
and people at the sawmill.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we've actually said that in this, but like you can just pick anything up. You've got godly strength. So we alluded to before, you can rip a tree out of the ground.
And these trees are the size of like redwood, sequoias.
Yeah. So none of this getting your axe out and chopping a tree down. You pick it up and you throw it at the sawmill. Alternatively, you pick up the sawmill and you run into the trees. So
which is a lot faster.
Yeah. It makes it really...
it's fun, it's quirky.
Yeah, it's fun, it's quirky. It speeds up the process of these town builders and the harvesting of all the materials just by that simple mechanic of picking things up and throwing them.
It takes out the waiting of your materials to go up, doesn't it? So like if you're like only 100 tree like logs away from building something, you're like, right, instead of waiting for my villagers to go and get it, I'll just take the sawmill to the forest, 2 seconds.
And it doesn't tell you any of this. So it felt quite intuitive. I think there needs to be more examples, but like the picking up the sawmill and running it into the trees, it felt quite like you're almost breaking the game. It wants you to do that, but you've had to figure that out. There could be more of that.
The only reason we knew how to do that was because I'd seen that on a TikTok.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you guys would never have done it. I would never have done it. Why would you ever pick a sawmill up and run?
It does tell you to throw trees at the mill. On the help screen.
Yeah, but not the other way around.
Other aspect, no.
I do wish there was a bit more of an animation for it. Now, that might be asking
instead of the tree just disappearing.
Yeah, the tree just kind of like shrinks and disappears.
It does drop into wood mode though, doesn't it? You can, if you run into a tree and you knock its senses out. I don't know how to say that. Like if you hit it really hard when you're running, you damage the tree. You don't just knock the tree over. So there's different states of tree. It goes into log mode.
There is, but when you go in through with the sawmill, it doesn't like go through those stages. It just disappears, which I understand from a technical point. But it'd be cool if you just saw loads of like wood chips just go and fly.
Then it
technically would be a simple effect as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or people splat.
But I did find where there's quite a lot of consideration for how you harvest wood. I found a lot of the other harvesting of materials to be a bit lacking. You didn't do
it seemed
much.
like a big focus on lumber, didn't it, over everything?
So you want alcohol, you build a brewery, and then that's it. You just you assign a worker, and that's
let them cut the wheat up themselves or whatever.
Yeah, there's not...
You have to set them up, but there are workers.
Yeah, they have to have jobs.
There's not a lot of actual farming in terms of like harvesting resources that you have to do yourself. Whereas in most of these games, you're constantly going out, you're getting wood, you're getting other materials that I can't think of off the top of my head. But and then you bring them back to your village, and then that automates the process of maybe turning ore into plate and then plate into swords. Whereas in this, I felt like the village automates most processes. And the only thing you're really going out to get is to kill bandits because they drop refined something and trees.
Now the
tuskers
and the
meat.
But even then, the butcher makes most of the meat for you.
Yeah, but you need
but you need hunters. You need to get it.
Yeah,
that's the problem. We didn't get the logistics side of it very well because we threw our camp up. So we had people quitting because we couldn't pay them, but we didn't realize there was money even.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain itself that well. I mean, it's in early access, so I imagine
tutorials.
Once it's up and running, there'll be a proper tutorial.
But I do get what you mean with it, because you can automate means there should be a story or should be a focus for you.
Yes.
Because you're not doing the general focus on the normal town builder stuff, like getting resources and stuff like that. You don't need to, because in theory, you've set up the right logistic infrastructure.
Yeah.
Whereas you do kind of hit a wall quite quickly. There's no drive.
It did feel very quickly, like I didn't really know what I was meant to be doing, because all I could do was kill bandits, track down trees, and build more of the same buildings I've already got to get resources a bit quicker. But
try and make the town run better.
Yeah, but we did hit that wall in about 2 hours.
We did, but at the same time, because it's so fast at like you building, we built everything we needed to in 2 hours, but we built it so the infrastructure so poorly that everybody needed the toilet constantly.
Yeah, enough toilets.
We did build a lot of toilets,
but we built a lot of toilets. So I don't know if that's an error in itself.
No, a toilet can only service 2, but a house can service 3, which doesn't make sense to me.
No, and then we trapped a load of workers in the separate mining village we made
because they couldn't get to the other town.
Yeah,
to do the other jobs.
So they were starving because there was no food there.
Yeah. So we set it up poorly. I think half of it was us setting it up poorly, and half of it was probably in early access.
No guide.
A bit.
Yeah, I can definitely cut a lot of slack to it for the early access. And what I was sort of saying before about the content, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of content. It feels like you can get through it pretty quick.
I think we had a bit of a bad view of it in the way that there was too many of us, so we smashed it.
Yes,
but the game is set up to have 6 people.
It is, agreed. It's not breaking anything to do it. I think probably if it was limited at 2 players for now, until there's more to do, might have been a better idea. But it was fun messing about with the gunpowder barrel. I did throw that at Damon quite regularly. And there was a guy in the village that I thought was very funny to chuck in our Tusker pit quite regularly.
And he would fight them. Hand to hand.
But there's quite a lot you could do. They could definitely introduce more mechanics for building, like custom buildings, if you like. We built like a bit of a castle, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
There could be more there. And I think it'll be added. But
that's
even
when
like
it really started chugging.
Yeah.
Because each placement of brick is like a meter square block, kind of like Minecraft.
Yeah.
But that renders them all separately. Yeah. They don't become a conjoined wall.
Yeah. So there's probably some optimization there. But you could like rearrange terrain a little bit. Yeah. I think you can probably do a better job of it. But it's there, so they can build upon that and make that a bit better.
Definitely
you can see where it's going.
And what I forgot. Combat we've covered. I think the largest part for me is you need a drive. I know I've just said it. You need a drive. I think there's no story.
You just dropped in. Have they alluded to giving you like they're working on a story? Or
well, no, but also, I mean, it sounds stupid, but the other one I'm comparing this to was Grounded. Because this has done a similar thing. Grounded was in early access for such a long time, and then it dropped as a full game with a nicely fluent story. Everything worked well, blah, 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 because that's the idea of putting it in early access to make it stress test and stuff.
Even without the story in Grounded, though, there was more to go out and collect.
There was more to go out,
different materials to grab. It didn't have a base builder in the same way. You could build... Sorry, it didn't have a town builder in the same way.
No.
It had a base builder, but not a town builder. So you could have a base with all your stuff that automated the production of, say, using silk to make clothes or whatever. But you still had to go and gather the materials to fuel that.
But my larger point was you were investigating stuff. You were going to see what that laser was. You were going to see what that area was. So I think this is missing that, personally. I think this is missing an overall drive because you can automate everything at home.
Yeah. And because I've not followed the production of it, I don't know what they're aiming to do. But it feels like there's a good set of mechanics there that they've worked out, especially with your character controls and all that. It's a really good set of mechanics there. There just needs to be something to do, as I say, something to drive. And I think that needs to be more than the town builder, unless they put a lot more into the town building and the
I think it should be war, personally. I think it should be war with the bandits. The bandits' idea is they're supposed to come for your crown. They want your crown.
Yeah.
And I personally think it should be a giant bandit camp that you couldn't just overthrow like we did.
Yeah, because there's only like 4 or 5 tents maximum, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think they randomly spawn too.
Yeah.
After you defeat him. I think they just keep randomly spawning.
We just kept smashing them.
Yeah.
It was way too easy for the volume of people we had.
Well, even I was going in and just doing them by myself.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it should be war. I think it should be an area of the map that is bandit territory, and you don't go in it because you just get overwhelmed.
You'll get eradicated.
Yeah, that's something along that lines. That's just the way my brain goes with it. So all that being said, I guess overalls, what do you think?
I'm excited to see where it goes.
Now, I'm exactly the same as you there, Joe. I wouldn't exactly say go play it now. I would, even though I was excited to do it, I think it's not ready. I think it needs more time. It needs more putting in.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what this early access is for. It's
definitely
for us to play it, have feedback, say, oh, well, we didn't like this, we like that.
I also said this about Tectonica. I want to play that game when it's a game.
I did feel like Tectonica had more in it, though.
It did have a text-based story that you were discovering all the time.
Yeah, I think
it was a story.
It didn't feel rough around the edges, Tectonica.
Even though it did have some amazing glitches.
Yeah, you did fall through stuff.
But it felt almost there. Whereas this is very rough around the edges.
I think it's too early access. I feel like maybe it could have done with more time.
It's like alpha rather than beta.
Yeah. It is, as you said before, it's a playground. They've got this set of mechanics that works.
Yep.
And then that's kind of it. And that's all we've got.
And those mechanics are great. They're so silly.
Especially the character control.
Fun. We were laughing our heads off, picking each other up and throwing each other across the map.
Not even just each other, but the villagers. When you lob them, and if you have someone lob one past, you just hear they go, ah! Straight past you.
But then
what was that?
You could carry multiple people on your shoulders at once as well. That was quite fun.
For what reason, we don't know.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of it's there.
But it's a preset to something better.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the journey that they've got left to do, what they've promised or what they're going to be able to achieve. But at this point, it would be a hard game to recommend unless you really like the look of it, because we didn't complete it. Obviously, you can't complete these games, but I felt like we saw everything that's currently to offer. We saw it in a very short space of time. These games are designed usually to last, well, Factorio, 280 hours. Maybe not all on that level, but at least a good 10, 20, 30 hours. But
I feel like what this game is trying to do is cut the monotony out. And it actually kind of proves to me that there's a lot more monotony than you think.
But there's a reason for it.
And you need monotony in many ways.
Yeah.
Because
if you make it too easy,
it paces it.
It didn't run.
Yeah. If you make
everything
it too
we
easy,
didn't work.
Yeah.
If it's too easy, you'll get through it too quickly. I feel like if you couldn't overthrow, if you pick stuff up and lob it and do all that business, then the mechanics in the character movement and stuff would have been fun enough to actually still make you want to do it. It would have taken a lot longer, maybe been...
See, I think that's what it's got going for it. The being able to pick up a sawmill and run through the forest.
It
just needs more
only
stuff like
if there's more content.
Yes.
There needs to be...
more content.
Because they're rushing through it, when you look at other games that do that do a town builder, they don't need as much content because you do it much slower. Yeah. Because this game is doing it so quick, you almost need double or 4 times or 10 times the amount of content because you're doing it 10 times as quickly.
As Ben says, there needs to be a drive that you need to work towards.
Yeah. Why am I making my town?
Yeah.
What am I defending it from?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a war coming?
And there are objectives in the corner of the screen to do.
Yeah, but that's
they're just town related. There's not enough. There's not enough crappers.
It makes me like how you could do speed runs. How quickly can I defeat the bandit boss or something?
Yeah, there should be bosses. It makes me think of Terraria when that came out. I love Terraria. It's kind of like a competition to Minecraft, but 2D.
Yeah.
Was at first there was loads of content to unlock, but then the drive, as you sort of say, there is to just get the next best armor. It was trees of stuff to mine and make. So that was the initial drive, but there was enough content there that you could still play it for 20 hours before seeing the end, if not more, get some good enjoyment out of it. But then over time, they added bosses to beat and all other stuff. And to beat these bosses, you needed prerequisites in order to find them or get them to spawn.
Yeah.
And they added so many that it really elongated the game. Obviously, they added more content as well, stuff to unlock, etc., etc. And then the game you play now is so different to what originally came out, but is based on the same core principles.
Yeah.
If this game could do something like that, you've got this core set, now they need to give you new armor to find, new weapons to find, all do different damage, new enemies to find, bosses, all that.
Even stagger the abilities.
Progression. Keep the town thing needs expansion, but you can still keep that as a core mechanic that helps you in the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like the focus, they've got such a good not combat framework, but character framework with the abilities and the way they move, that should be the focus. And what can they do with that?
Yeah.
To move on. It doesn't need a story, quote unquote. It just needs to drive.
Well, what you said there with Terraria being a like a competition to Minecraft, the original Minecraft didn't have anything to do.
No, and that's what I liked about Terraria, because you had all this armor and stuff to unlock.
So many people loved the original Minecraft because it didn't have a point.
I know.
You could just spend time in it and make whatever.
I know, but that had a really robust...
And I feel like you could do that with this game. Like, you don't always need a reason to build.
No, but that had such a robust...
Make the best town that you can just for the sake of it.
That had such a robust town builder, or build it that you could create so much better in Minecraft. You can't really create in this. Not to the same level.
You can make a pretty town, but you have got preset buildings. You have got preset lampposts. You're never going to get away from that. So you can change the layout. You can change that's about it, really.
I don't think that's what they're going for. But the fact that they've put a lot of time into the character movement and abilities, I feel like that's where they should spend more focus. And then what can you do with that? Say something more like Terraria did.
A town builder to me is always how pretty can I make it? Because that's a different thing to a crafting game, to the Factorio. It doesn't need to be pretty, it needs to function. That's a different drive. Whereas this being a town builder, like your city skylines, your city builder, the target is how many people can I get to live there?
Yeah.
How can it function? This is what I mean by, for this, I don't have a target. I don't have any target. I don't have the too many people living here and it's all collapsing. I don't have the...
Although that did happen.
I know it did happen, yeah, because we just threw it all up. But there's nothing. I haven't got anything else to drive for.
Yeah.
I think that in the developer's mindset, it might have been how smoothly can you get this town to run? Because there is a stress on it.
Definitely.
Top.
Yeah, maybe that's
when stuff's going wrong, that goes to 100%. Everyone starts leaving the town.
Maybe that is all their vision is, which is fine, because that's obviously the game they want to make. What I would like to see is something like a cave in the distance you can't get into because you need to build a certain thing in the town that gets you some sort of equipment that lets you unlock that cave, and then you unlock the cave and it's a whole new area,
exactly
new.
You do get equipment as you unlock different
broadsword.
Yes, but they don't
shield.
And you do, but they don't allow you to do anything that you couldn't.
No, that's what I mean. It could do that.
Yes.
With your crown power, I'm just going to throw it out there, with a broadsword, you could basically be a helicopter. You could spin around in circles and take off.
Well, there you go. So maybe they do that. And then there's a separate village in the sky that you can build. But you can't build it until you get the broadsword and you've got the ability
to definitely. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just want a little more drive. So if anything, I'm going to say my recommendation first then. So if anything, I would wait for the proper game or wait for a bit more development. I think it's a really fun multiplayer platform if you just want to clown with a friend. But there's nothing there really. It's fun chucking each other about and it's fun doing that, but there's not much more yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody else, Jake?
I very much the same. It feels like, as I said before, it feels like a big playground at the minute, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody now. But I think it needs about 2 years or something. Yeah.
I want to see where it goes, definitely.
And I've said this last episode in Unpopular Opinions. Go check that out. I don't like survival games or builders or town builders and stuff like that. But this, with the silliness of it and how quick you can do it and quirky, it's quite interesting. I'm quite interested to see where it goes in those 2 years. But I wouldn't recommend playing it now. I'd wait. However, if you do want to support the devs and message them, I think they have a Discord.
They do. I'm in it. Yeah,
and tell them how your opinions on the game and stuff. By all means, because that's what early access is for.
Yeah. Brad?
Echo pretty much everything that you've said there. I do think it needs a good few years of development, but they've started with a good foundation, very good foundation. It's 2 years of content and optimization patches, essentially, is what they need.
Yeah.
A lot of games come out and they're riddled with bugs. I didn't really have any bugs, I don't think.
Apart from your actual Xbox.
Apart from the Xbox, but that's optimization.
Yeah, or then it like overloading itself.
Yeah.
I think we slightly had villager bugs, but then again...
Maybe, but it's hard to tell.
Couldn't tell because we were too busy throwing them around.
Maybe there's not that many bugs because there's not that much in it yet. And the more stuff they add, the more complicated it becomes. Who knows? But that's just what it needs. I can't recommend it now because it's just not got enough to do and it's quite quick to finish. But I did enjoy what I played. And it's early access, so hopefully the team get the funding they need to finish their vision, and then maybe we'll check it out again as and when that is.
Cool. Joe?
Do you know what? I'm going to go against the grain on you guys, but for one reason only. I played it single player, and I found that the speed of which it fed your content was slow enough to not get through the town like really quick. As you guys came onto it, you saw us only just at brewing. But it helped me to understand the order that you have to do stuff in.
Yes.
That's what I was saying. I think it should be maximum too.
It does feed at you at a decent speed. It's not like, oh, you've built everything already and there's nothing to do.
I get that, to be fair. Yeah.
So I would recommend it currently as a single player game rather than the multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
Because as we've all said, in the multiplayer, you get everything done in like 2 hours and you can't do anything else.
Yes.
But as a single player, I've not even got that far in it. And I'm still having a great time with it.
How many games do you recommend single player but not as co-op? It's usually the other way around.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, very true.
I know.
I do see where you're coming from there, Joe.
It's a more complete experience to learn the game first.
Yeah.
Than just like jump in and be like, all right, we've built everything, let's go home.
I do agree with you, Joe. As I was saying before, the fact that it was 6 of us could go in, I think, was the bigger spoiler.
Yeah.
Maybe limited to 2 because I do think it's fun with a friend.
Because you weren't coordinating with each other what you were going to build next. It was like, oh, there's a refinery has appeared here. Now what do we do with it? But I'm gonna recommend it to play on your own.
I can imagine it's a lot more cozy as well.
Yes, very 3D Stardew Valley vibes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all that being said, I guess that's the end of the episode.
Before we end, Jake.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my Backlog game.
The next one.
So I actually, I've already put a couple of hours into this. Cheat.
Leg up.
I am going to pick Tunic. Now, I know Joe's already played a bit of this himself. So I hope you enjoy it some more.
You've wanted to pick this for years. Maybe not years, but for a past few backlogs.
Yes, I kept putting it off, thinking, oh no, I want to play this before, but this has been on my backlog for a long time. A cutesy isometric Zelda, which
but it's so much harder than
that. Yeah. But I'm very much looking forward to playing it. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool. Sounds fun.
Can't wait to get my ass kicked by a boar again.
Okay, so yeah, we've been Gaming Garnish, and see you next time, I guess.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.